Let me switch to a similar but different question. And I think one that you have been speaking about before, Fredrik, as well. And that's the future of the job market, especially as robots like Elsa get increasingly conscious, perhaps, or at least get increasingly useful, if we say that. It doesn't have to be conscious, I guess. What do you think will happen in the future job market in like 10 years? Do you think AI and robotics will change that in some ways, positive or negative? What's your general thinking?
Yeah, definitely it will affect.
Yes.
Then the hard question is how, and I think a lot of jobs will disappear, but of course a lot of jobs will also appear, that we will have more engineers and more maybe cognitive science people or more titles and occupation that we can't imagine today. So it's hard to list all new jobs that will appear, but a lot will appear. But I think the main problem here is that we will have a negative netto. We will lose more jobs than we will create. And that's something that I'm a bit worried about.
Both in long term or mainly short term or mainly long term? With the negative?
Mainly long term. And we have seen that in the past as well, that we had in the beginning of the 90s, we had, or maybe 40s or something like that, 60 hours a week we worked, and then 50 hours, and now we are 40. So that's the trend. We are working less and less, and we're getting paid more and more. So in the future, we might work 20 hours a week or something like that. And then we can have the same salary, and we can be more with our family. We also, I think this can be good. Many people see and are afraid of losing jobs, but I think we are so stressful today, and we are apart from our family so much. So I think if we can work less with the same amount of payment, then it's good. But the problem is if a few people work and get payment, and
no one, other people is not part of the society.
Part of the labor market. They are part of the society. But
good, better framed. Thank you.
Yes. Then we have more segregation and more problems, economical segregation, but also other problems in the society. So that's one big challenge I see.
Yeah, I guess, some jobs it's easy to see that they will be affected more than others. And if you take like truck drivers, which is, I think, the biggest job occupation to have in US. I think a third of all the jobs that they have in US is like truck drivers or something.
Exactly.
So you can see something happening to some of them. I would still hope, from an optimistic point of view, that more jobs will occur, but perhaps it will be a different type of job. So actually it's more suitable for you.
If you're looking into the future long term, general artificial intelligence, why should we work if we have someone or something that is equal or even better than us? Then the jobs will disappear. Or do you think even at that time we will see more jobs?
I think so, actually. Not more jobs. No. So the trend is, I think, clear, as you say as well. But that we will have jobs.
Yes, some people can have jobs, and we can see handcraft, like you value a painting painted by a human more than a paint by a robot.
Because I think this is interesting, right? Because when society changes like that, and we have more time, and we are more differentiating what is the human excelling at, what are we valuing? I mean, like, I can fully embrace the trend of we want to have handcrafted things. Exactly. We want to have more music. And we want to have more culture.
We can do music and culture for free because we will get paid by the robots. The robot will making the economy work, so we can have food on the table.
Yeah. So but then you can argue that I think somewhere in the way our ideology, in the way we work as humans, we want to feel useful. So we want to go to work. But maybe...
But you can feel useful if you are in the like NGO sector as well.
No, so what I'm saying is that that's what I'm a little bit thinking, that we as a species, we will create jobs. We will synthetically create jobs, even if it's just for pleasure, like culture or for music or humanities or whatever.
So it depends on what you are saying about jobs. I think we will still have something to do. We will not sit in the sofa looking straight forward.
That's my point.
Yes.
But we don't need to have this for getting a salary. Yeah. We can do it for fun. We can do music for fun. So if you are saying that is a job, then we will of course create jobs in the future.
Occupation, or at least.
Yeah, I think the notion of occupation and belonging to a discipline and all this. I think that is not
I think
disappearing.
One way to phrase it is, we have actually, we have never had better social welfare than we have today. I mean, it is, if you do nothing, or you will still be able to survive. You will have roof on top of your head. You will get food, etc. That will just continue to increase in that sense, and that's a really good thing, right? I'm trying to end off here on a positive note somehow. So in that sense, I think that kind of welfare will just continue to increase with the help of increased, taking advantage of technology, of data and AI, of robotics, etc. I think Elon Musk phrased it as, we will have a future of extreme abundance.
Yes, I heard exactly this quote.
Right,
there will be an abundance of that. So
everything.
So it's a different it's a different mindset that's very hard to imagine.
And I think we have actually a large amount of abundance already today. If you just compare it 50 years back. I think that abundance will just increase in an exponential scale, according to Kurt's.
And of course, the real problem is, can we distribute this abundance in a fair and equal way? Yeah. I think that's going to be the big problem.
To avoid this.
Because the when you have an uneven distribution of power or an uneven distribution of, I would go, fundamental, satisfying, that will be the problem.
Exactly.
And also, just to try to end off here on a positive note, this is also the equality of finding use for an AI. Sometimes people think if you're not a data scientist, you will not have the success as data scientists have. So it will be increasing in quality in who can benefit of the future of AI. I think that is very, very wrong. And I can compare it to, if I give an example of my mom, for example, she worked as a nurse. She was horrified when they digitalized the journal system. They went from writing pen and paper into some kind of computerized form, digitalized form. And it was extremely complicated. You couldn't change anything. It was very hard, horrible user interface. It was very, very complicated. And it really increased the digital divide, the original term of the divide, in an extreme. And it was a very bad experience. And it's very easy to understand that people think that this type of technology, that AI is very complicated. Therefore, the digital divide will increase. And only a few very technically knowledgeable people will have the power to use it. And that is the strongest and worst misconception you can have, I would argue. What I instead say is the AI will actually make it much more human. Like with Elsa, you can speak to her. She can look at you. You can use the human type of sensors and actuators. And in that way, it will actually decrease the digital divide and make it super simple for anyone without even technical skills to take advantage of technology. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, of course. We are not made for using buttons and screens and so on. We are made for talking. That's the main communication interface with humans. So with more voice controlled systems and more robots are also similar to us with the shape then it's more easy for us to communicate and interface with the technology. It's just to take
a car. I mean, the car of today works in some way. The car of the future will be, you walk into it and you say, please take me there.
Yeah, exactly.
But
much easier.
But the misconception here is about how many will truly design AIs and program AIs, and how many will use AIs in all types of forms and shapes and jobs. So that we all need to be data scientists. Well, that would argue that we all should build AIs, and that's not the case.
But you can train the system. You just like you raise children today, you can raise the AI to help you.
And you will be able to do that even because that process has been AI-ified.
Exactly.
Yeah. Simplified or...
So what do you think, Fredrik? Is the future in 10 plus years positive or negative?
Positive, of course. I am very optimistic about the future, but we need to be aware of the problems to solve them.
What will Elsa's children look like? How will they be able to behave in 10 years?
I think they will be very smart and maybe do stuff that we think is boring, maybe cook the food in the weekdays. We can still do the cooking on Sundays for fun, but when we are stressed, we're coming home, we have children screaming they need food, then the robot have already prepared the food for us and help us with a lot of everyday problems. And it can also be like we have a dog, we need to walk the dog every day, but it's not so fun in the rainy autumn days, then the robot can go out and walk the dog. So I think that kind of technology we will have in 10 years.
And how do you see the evolution of robots and even humanoid robots? Where will we see them first? I mean, like we have them in dangerous places, we have them in rescue. So how do you see the steps here?
Now it's in dangerous places in the industry as well, manufacturing industry. We will see them in the future more and more in transportation sector. If we classify a car as a robot, which I do, and then we will see them in healthcare. We already see some AI diagnostic systems and so on. We see them in surgery already now, so more and more in healthcare. And then I think also in restaurants, having robots at McDonald's flipping burgers and so on instead of humans.
That's actually not so far away.
Exactly. And we can then have restaurants open all night and every day a week and so on. And also cheaper, since we don't need to pay any salary for that.